Welcome back everyone, and it's time to go balls deep. Today we are explaining the concept of Weg devil magic and what the implications are for using this type of magic. There is also another clue for an angel race or god to appear in Black Clover's universe very soon. But before we can go into all of that, let's talk about chapter 264 and the plan Nacht, the vice captain of the Black Bulls, has created for the Clover Kingdom to save Yami and William Vengeance. Nacht explains that with his magic, they can make their way into the inner part of the Spade Kingdom without getting caught. And his plan is for them to defeat the Dark Triad one by one. Bruh. Now, let's think about what Nacht is saying. He thinks they stand a chance at defeating the Dark Triad, even though they are all country level threats and obliterated everyone before? Well, to be fair, the Triad did catch them off guard, and they had no plan to combat them the first time. However, that's not the case now. Why, you may ask? Well, the answer is... Nacht then makes it clear just who they're up against, explaining their multiple different magic types. Sadly, Nacht can't take everyone with his magic, so they need to choose people most likely to win against them to create the elite squad, with Asta being in the center of the plan that will stop the ritual from happening. So obviously a ritual is an area of effect spell, so fans have been wondering since the manga states in chapter 263 that Asta will become the strongest. That must foreshadow the idea that Asta will receive Zone just like Yuno, Yami and other characters that they have showcased this ability. Mana Zone is a skill that allows a mage to manipulate the mana in an area around themselves, thus the mage can gather together and utilize more magic than they would normally be able to. We just saw the anti-magic demon stated that Asta cannot withhold more of his anti-magic power because his body is too weak to harness that much power. So with the new demon arm, maybe Asta will receive training on how to harness it properly and develop his mana control of that said power. I asked you guys on Twitter, what do you want Asta's anti-magic zone to be called, and the responses were wow. I like the suggestions of Mana Void or Blackout. Those sounds really lit if Asta gets a new spell like that. Moving back to the chapter, Jack blurts out the common sense answer stating that the captains will be the first pick, but Yuno interrupts and begs Nacht to bring him on the mission. Jack interrupts him again and calls Yuno a fool. There's no chance of sending a person who has lost to Zenon already. But to be quite honest, Jack, you're pissing all of us off at the moment. Why are you so rude? No one wants to hear what you're saying, mate.
What the fuck is you talking about? What the fuck was that? I'm sorry, man.
Fueguelion understands where Yuno is coming from, but discourages him from going on the mission and says that Yuno should stay here and protect the kingdom. However, Nacht was a spy at the Spade Kingdom for a number of years, therefore knowing the infrastructure of everything that was happening. He states there was a resistance army forming in the nation against the Dark Triad. He noticed a few days ago that one of their members secretly visited the Clover Kingdom. He's of course talking about Ralph, the man that is part of the bloodline that protects royalty of the Spade Kingdom that Yuno is from. He proceeds to ask Yuno what his real identity is in front of everyone. So the jig is up. Yuno is forced to reveal that he is the Spade Nation Prince, and Asta and all of the captains, they have the same reaction we all had when chapter 233 dropped. Yuno explains that they had him flee as a baby to the Clover Kingdom when there was treason against the royals, his father and mother that is. And this explains any questions the captains had about his capacity for mana, as Noelle thinks to himself, oh well, that explains things. Yuno suggests that Ralph probably knows a lot about the enemies of the inner part of the castle, and he will provide valuable intel for them to use if they are going to create a sneak mission to take on the Dark Triad one by one. But yet again, Jack can't just take any of this bullshit, and he's on his rant, he's on his high horse. He accuses both Ralph and Yuno of possibly being a spy, and man, I've just had enough of this dude being so unreasonable. Even an Indian uncle, he hit me up, he was like, bro, I've had enough, I'm so frustrated, and he sent this message. So shout out to the Indian fans, everyone from East Asia, in fact, the Filipinos. I recognize you too, man. You guys are busting out that subscription on this channel. Thank you for the support for your fellow brown man. Sare bande ko batao, anime bulls deep ko subscribe karo. Yuno proceeds to call out all the captains for not trusting Captain Vengeance in this time, ever since the elf incident. And honestly, I don't blame them for not trusting him. In fact, not trusting him is being nice. This man should have been punished and in prison. He just massacred the whole kingdom and made Julius become a kid again. Come on now.
It's facts! It's facts! It's not facts. These facts are not facts.
Anyway, he then explains that while he was losing consciousness, he remembers seeing William Vengeance fighting Zenon while injured and still saving his squad mates. In the flashback shown, William declares that the Golden Dawn is his pride and dream. The fact that he's able to stand tall and say this in the face of the enemy at least proves that he's loyal to the kingdom, wishing to redeem himself and prove himself worthy. William was not fighting Zenon at 100% power because he was trying to make sure to save his comrades' lives in the meanwhile too. This brings forth the idea that without a surprise attack, the captains actually have a chance to win with a counter-attack of the same nature. Yuno mentions that Zenon showed up with the intent to kill the entirety of the Golden Dawn but failed. He calls the Golden Dawn the strongest brigade in the Clover Kingdom. But we all know again, yet again, that is some bullshit. But fine, we know that the actual answer is the Black Bulls, fam. Don't mess with the Black Bulls. It's yami, fam. Do you know what yami is capable of, fam? Shut your mouth, boy. So Yuno needs to blurt this out to make himself feel better, and he then says that he's going to save William and prove that his efforts to save his squad were not in vain. And with that, Belle shows up and you can just see how pissed she is, bruh. Belle states that she is building mana, and Jack is in the awe of it, saying, what the hell, I don't know what that is, what a blood clot is this girl doing, fam? She says that Yuno will 100% not lose the battle next time, possibly foreshadowing a new spell or transformation of Yuno. Nacht agrees, and Asta quickly comes to terms with Yuno's identity, saying that whether he's the prince of the Spade Kingdom or the vice captain of the Golden Dawn, Yuno is Yuno to him. This is the reaction everyone was hoping Asta would have, as it shows that there is still some life in their rivalry, and if nothing else, they're still friends. Now remember, the idea of the Light Triad sharing ideology and a goal is highlighted throughout this arc. They are the ones that have to unite with similar ideas to bring peace to the Spade Nation. Yuno's beliefs matched Asta's back in chapter 236 when he explains his feelings. In the flashback, Yuno thinks about Asta on how they are family and they are actually more connected to one another than other people, even though that they are not blood related. This follows the theme of discrimination and prejudice not being justifiable just because someone is born of low status or low magic. Yuno becoming a prince doesn't mean he looks down on Asta now, or he doesn't love him anymore, or it doesn't diminish their bond. In fact, it pushes Asta even further to get stronger so that they can achieve becoming the Wizard King. That's why in chapter 264 we see both Asta and Yuno clearly having the resolve to work together to bring their captains back. Nacht announces that they'll be leaving for the Spade Kingdom in 2 days from tomorrow morning, and that he would explain more next time they meet. Fuguedion says that he'd like to request the cooperation of the Heart Kingdom, and Charlotte mentions that she lost contact with them recently. This is when, say with me now, are you gonna say it? Balls deep prediction magic comes true because it's just way too powerful. Can we get a flashback, please? I personally think another reason Tabata has done this in the storytelling is to reintroduce Patri as well as the other characters that got left behind. This would give the elves their redemption, and it will show that they truly do want to repent for what they did by defending the nation against the invaders that just destroyed the Golden Dawn. We then transition from the Clover Kingdom to wherever the frick Noelle is, and she was at the Heart Kingdom, but it seems that she's in the Grand Magic Zone or another area where the elves took her. They give Noelle clothes and heal her and ask her what has happened, so this means that they will join the war. Okay, now let's explain Weg Magic and the clue Nacht gave regarding its nature and this said god. So what is Weg Magic? We know that in chapter 214 Julius discussed Weg as a curse curse that stems from excessive use of devil magic or forbidden magic. It's a price to pay for delving into the underworld's affairs, and as we've seen with Sekri, a loss of humanity. Zagred states in chapter 205, when Nero uses forbidden Weg magic, that she's paying no heed to the kickback from the forbidden magic. He foreshadowed that idea from the very beginning, that even using the magic stones for a weak spell and being not loved by mana will cause a human not to maintain their human shape. This explains why Asta, who is not loved by mana, he had to make a deal with the anti-magic demon to give up his complete arm to him so he can use more of the Weg anti-magic, as he is a boy that cannot control it. He's not strong enough to withhold that much power, as the devil stated.
Mission failed. We'll get him next time.
The more Weg magic Asta would like to use, it means he would have to give up more of his body parts or become stronger in another manner, like Nacht is suggesting. For example, when Asta offered the devil to take more of him for another chance to save Yami against Zenon, he told him he is too weak, he cannot withhold it. Another aspect of Weg magic is giving up on your humanity, in terms of giving into your negative feelings to harness the power more fruitfully. We see this theme within all devil users. When Dante explained this ideology, Asta himself admitted it and mentioned that even he feels negative emotions that could boost his power up, but part of staying human and a good person is choosing not to give in to these things. However, later on in the battle, we see the anti-magic demon in his subconscious telling him to kill Lucifer and being quite wrathful and evil. This leads up to Asta speaking to the anti-magic demon once again and giving into those negative feelings, which resulted in him partly not being human now. Essentially, Sekri, Asta, Nacht and the Triad all develop horns when they use Weg magic. However, it is implied that there is more than one way to pay the price to the devil per se, but ultimately at the end the final result will be the person known as Sekri, Asta or something else will be gone because the devil would take over. The Dark Disciples don't even refer to themselves as humans anymore, much like Nacht. Sekri has permanent horns. The Triad have lost their goddamn minds and have permanent seals on their bodies of their contract. And let's not even mention the Dark Disciples, the subordinates. They're kinda insane, and to be quite honest, they're lame.
Know your fucking place, trash.
So where does this leave Asta and Nacht? What price do they have to pay? What's the inherent price Asta paid before and after willingly sacrificing his arm? Well, remember back in chapter 214, Julius said Asta will die as one of his predictions. Predictions 1 and 2 are closely related to 3. They are interconnected and led to Asta making a decision to somewhat die per se. On one hand, you can interpret as Julius said this because he knew the courts would use Asta as a scapegoat and try to execute him for William's crimes. However, I think Tabata was introducing this as a much larger plot point for the future. Asta can still die, just not literally. So how then, you may ask? Well, in the constant foreshadowing of Weg magic being forbidden and a type of spell that causes the user to give something up in return for using it, in chapter 263 we got more evidence. Jack the Ripper, he recognized Nacht from the Aqueduct in the past and tells Nacht he remembers him but his magic is different. Nacht clarifies to Jack that man is now gone. Now obviously the man standing in front of them is the vice captain, but he is heavily implying that Nacht that they once knew has died, just like Dante, Vanica and Zenon died after giving into their malice and enjoying Weg magic a little too much. That the use of Weg magic took away Nacht's humanity. Nacht had to perform countless treacherous acts or a deal to be able to control his demon. The Spade monarchy and Julius probably foresaw the same thing happening to Asta. It has been hinted many times Asta would be taken over by his devil as time progresses. Slowly but surely, Asta is losing his humanity and made a vow that he will talk to his anti-magic demon more often. This is another interpretation of how Asta will die, by truly succumbing to his despair and letting the devil take over his body and mind. I'm just saying, what if the anti-magic demon is the final boss of Black Clover?
Surprise, motherfucker.
One last thing I'd like to mention is that Nacht states that there is a god. The anime Balls Deep community states that this should be a significant foreshadowing on what's to come. This isn't the first time God has been mentioned in Black Clover. We have reiterated it in the videos multiple times that the elves stated that they believe in a god that they worship, right? And they stated that the 10 Sephira have divine communication with that deity. Logically speaking, the Black Clover universe has nuns, churches, other dimensions, and devils. So obviously this means that there is a belief of a god that exists one way or another. Therefore, the possibility of Nacht knowing more than he leads on is quite likely. We might see the angel race, dwarves, or other worlds that the characters are ignorant of after the Dark Triad arc. Anyway guys, that's everything I want to say for this week. Make sure to smash that like button, follow us on Twitter or other social media, and there is a 15% code off called SIMP on the Asta merch and the Yami merch that was just released. Go check it out. Thank you to all these people that bought the merch, and we'll see you guys next time.